Now to our commentators on the couch, Joanna Paul and Willie Jackson. Tēnā rā kōrua. Willie, is Chris Finlayson the best treaty minister we've had?
Oh, I wouldn't get carried away, Scotty, for goodness sake. I mean, he's a nice bloke, but look, in terms of competence, he's as competent and he's as capable as previous ministers, no doubt about that. Very efficient minister and doing the job. And I know out there, Scotty, there's a lot of respect for him. So, you know, he's very similar to Michael Cullen in that respect. So, but
he seems to be very genuine about what he's doing.
Oh, he's very genuine, and you know, he's a good front for the National Party. But really, you know, there's not a lot of money there. See, there's a bit of a crime with the treaty settlement process, and that's the $1.3 billion. 1.3 billion for you know, over 25 years. Yep. 25 years we get 1.3 billion. Overnight, South Canterbury Finance get 1.6 billion. So that's a real worry, and I think these ministers have to be challenged over that, because we're talking about less than 1% of the real worth of a settlement. He knows better than anyone that the Ngaitahu settlement was actually worth $18 billion. And they came up with 170 million. So there's some real inequities that have to be pointed out with the settlement process. But as a person and as a front person, National probably couldn't get any better.
Do you agree, Joanna? Are there inequities in the settlement process?
No, I don't agree at all. I think while he might have a very nice face on him, I think that he leads a charge of little pit bull terriers down there. And I think that his, I imagine he goes out every morning with his Rottweiler, takes it for a walk around the block, puts on his nice face and goes out and meets the people. But if my situation is anything to go by, and I'm here on behalf of Ngaitarangi, and speaking for myself as a member of Ngaitarangi, and having been to the latest ratification roadshow, which is going around the country at the moment, giving ourselves 4 weeks to be able to vote on what is a collective deed of settlement, which is this document here. And in fact, funnily enough, when I rang home to say, am I okay to come and talk on the show, one of my aunties said to me, oh, I thought that was a real estate brochure, so I threw it out. One of her neighbours thought, after she read a couple of pages, she says, oh, I don't know anything, I can't understand any of this, and she thought it out. So
what exactly is wrong with the Ngaitarangi settlement, in your opinion? Is it not enough money in the package? Is there not enough land being returned? What's happening?
Well, look, I think that we could call it lamentable, laughable, but I think insulting pretty much sums it up. So if we look at the package in itself, they have said, now bear in mind that the tribunal, when it came to its conclusion, said basically that a substantial redress must be made for post-1886 breaches. Substantial redress. They took 290,000 acres of confiscated land, and if you hold that up, you can see exactly where we're talking about.
But isn't
so,
I mean,
no. Let me just finish and say that
this is happening to all tribes. They're not getting what they want.
When the cash settlement in this particular document says $250,000, that's not even $1 an acre. Now, I don't know what kind of
The cash settlement is $250,000.
In this collective deed, it is, yeah. Now, I'm sorry, but if the median house prices in Tauranga at the moment are $286,000, which they are, because I checked this morning, $250,000 isn't even going to buy us a house, thanks very much. And for that, what are we supposed to do as people? And we can't even get our mo'o back. We sit there and crow down in Tauranga how we got the mo'o back. Maunganui, for all the people out there who don't know what it is, let me tell you, there are 7 people lying in a single bed.
But as I said,
4 of them, 3 mayors, 1 Crown representative, and 3 iwi.
Willie, this is happening all over the country though, isn't it? Tribes are having to settle, even though it's not really what they want. They're still going to have to settle in order for them to move on.
No, we don't have to settle. Why do we have to settle?
Hold on,
can I just come in here? Look, her frustration is the frustration of a lot of our people. Hugh Fletcher said, in terms of a business deal, one of our, you know, multi-millionaires, that he wouldn't even do a deal if he was going through the treaty settlement process. Professor Sid Mead said it was the most demoralising process he'd ever gone through. So what we have to do as Māori, Scotty, is do what, you know, you're hearing the frustration of Joanna today. Absolutely understand it. Do we get involved in the process, or do we forget about it? Whakatoa here tried that. They were one of the first tribes up. they said, no, we don't. They were like Joanna, no, we don't want a part of it. They went to the back of the queue. And they have to wait years and years. See, it's a real tough one. You can be like, what Joanna's saying is real and is true, but the reality is that the process, as bad as it is, and it only offers 1% of actual compensation, gives tribes an opportunity. Ngāi Tahu today, worth close to $1 billion. Tainui today, worth $500 million. So what it does
$250,000 is not much of an opportunity.
No, that's right. No, it's not much of an opportunity, and some are going to miss out. But we have to make decisions as Māori.
Some are going to miss out. That is insulting. Why? Tell me why, then, Minister. Give me a good reason.
Scotty, the interview.
Oh no, I'm talking to the Minister right now. But ask the Minister this. Why are we in Ngaitarangi and in the Tauranga Moana Collective, why aren't we allowed to talk about water restoration prices and those costs when Tainui just got millions and millions of dollars for the Waikato River? Well, there's no parity when it comes to iwi talking to the Crown about anything. I think it depends on which Rottweiler goes in at any one time.
But the Crown takes it. Look, my wife was a negotiator.
Final word, Willie.
She was the negotiator for the Te Arawa Lakes claim. They wanted to talk about water, not allowed. So the Crown sets the rules. The process is unfair.
Exactly.
It's inequitable. People miss out. People like Joanna are angry. But you make a decision, are we going to get involved or miss out altogether? Some tribes choose to get involved, and from those crumbs, some of them can build empires.
We've got a very positive Minister of Treaty Negotiations, but it's not as positive as what it seems.
No. Well, he's restricted by the cap and all that. He's very capable, all of that. But Joanna could do the job. You could do the job, because all you're doing is swinging the 1.3 billion around. It is a disgrace that our politicians don't challenge how much we actually get and the inequities of the settlement.
Okay, look, they've given us extra time. So, Joanna, what do you want to see happen?
What do I want to see happen? I want to see the people who are being asked in the Tauranga Moana Collective to say no on this voting paper. And then on the next voting paper they get, I want them to choose another government who are going to sit and listen and talk
properly. Do you really
properly.
believe another government will sit and listen?
Oh, well, apparently they have in the past. I've been told by Ngāti Koroki, Willie Jackson, who's done 12 treaty settlements, thank you very much, that this is a different government, Joanna. This is a different time. You're going to have to take what you're given. Well, I'm sorry, Willie, but I'm not prepared to do that. And neither should I think any of our people be prepared to do that.
Do you not think that your negotiators need to be changed? Maybe your negotiately need to be changed. They obviously haven't negotiated a decent settlement package.
I've already told them to sack themselves.
Joanna, it doesn't matter who the government is. It doesn't matter whether it's national, it doesn't matter whether it's Labour. The Labour ministers come in with the same views as the national ministers. What we need is the Māori parties on the side pushing these big governments, because nothing actually has changed from Labour to national. They're all efficient. He's just a mirror version of
well, the government's
Michael
a government,
Cullen.
isn't it?
And they have a
do
cap.
The same thing.
What we have to do is challenge the cap.
How can
and we need Māori politicians need to do the business.
How can that be true when you have Waikato getting water restoration monies and Tauranga Moana saying it's off the table? Tell me, how can that be true?
Well, as I said earlier, Te Arawa, they didn't even talk about water. They wouldn't even put the water kaupapa on the table when they were in negotiations back in 2000. So there's anomalies all the way through, and there's injustices with both governments in terms of this process. The real crime is why we're getting less than 1% of the settlement.
One of the points that Willie just made earlier was that the Māori politicians need to get more involved in this. What do you think of the Māori politicians at this point in time? Are they doing their job?
No, they're not doing their job. I think that's plainly obvious, even to the most ignorant.
Is John Tamihere getting back in the Labour Party?
Hey, you'd be happy with JT. He's got his Labour Party membership, Joanna. You'd be backing that, wouldn't you?
Well, I think that if he gets behind me, then I'll be quite happy with JT. However, I do think that the Māori Party is there to stand up for us. If, as Willie says, you are giving me the same amount of drivel that Willie Te Aho has given me, which is put up and shut up, then yes, it's time that we did put up. Because for us, We cannot afford to shut up. We are the tenants of this land, of these seas, for our mokopuna.
But Joanna,
who are we to be giving it away?
Joanna, you're about 10 years too late.
No, I'm not.
You are actually.
No, I'm being asked to sign this right now. This is the document I'm being asked to vote on right now.
Because we had people in Tainui and people in Ngaita who were all, and 15 years too late actually, who were all unhappy with those settlements. Sandra Lee, for instance, couldn't stand it. Absolutely, they all protested against the settlement. So you're 15 years too late, Joanna.
I'm sorry,
So we all we all knew it was a sham, but we also are realists. Bob Mahuta was a realist. O'Regan was a realist. You take the opportunity while it's there, even though we know we're just dealing with crumbs.
All right, very good. Thank you. We're going to have to
you
wrap
should be
there.
standing with JT for Parliament.
We're going to have to wrap there, both of you. Thank you very much for your time. Joanna Paul, Willie Jackson. Very good. Riveting. Okay.